When employees call one another with their first names and not Mr. or Mrs., does this increase psychological safety? Certain people think that using Mr. or Mrs. creates barriers to communication and decreases psychological safety. By removing Mr. or Mrs. in our communication, we suddenly improve psychological safety. Unfortunately, this is not correct. The main point here is to have right conditions for psychological safety. If we have the right conditions for psychological safety and we consider removing Mr. or Mrs. in our communication, then go for it. What are these right conditions for psychological safety? Having trust and respect, being open, showing vulnerability, having constructive conflicts are just some of the right conditions. Without these right conditions, whether we call one another with first names or Mr. or Mrs., it doesn't really matter, because we are likely to have a very low level of psychological safety. I remember working with a group of people and we used to call one another with first names. In this group, there was very little trust and respect. Therefore, the level of psychological safety was very low. Remember, removing Mr. or Mrs. in our communication is not a magic stick. What is more important is to have the right conditions for psychological safety. Once we have the right conditions and we want to consider removing Mr. or Mrs., then it might help improve psychological safety.